by the assurance that most abortions occur when a baby is not viable to live outside the womb, and that barbaric dismemberment procedures don't happen. But emails prove the FDA bought numerous body parts from babies up to 24 weeks old, a date at which many preemies survive and go on to live healthy lives. The FDA, number 6, the FDA bought skulls of second trimester babies. Receipts confirm the FDA bought intact calvariums of babies from 8 to 24 weeks gestation for use in experiments. It is unclear exactly how these intact heads were used. Number 7, busy abortion clinics produce, quote, awful specimens. The FDA expressed a demand for more fresh tissue, but ABR responded that the busiest clinics in California produced awful specimens that were too mangled to use. The sheer volume of abortions at these clinics would have made it difficult for workers to keep up with preserving intact specimens. Number 8, FDA requested boy organs to create humanized mice. The FDA went so far as to request organs from baby boys to use in, quote, their words, very important and challenging surgeries to create humanized mice. ABR responded that they would do their best, but could make no promises due to the nature of termination procedures, which mutilate a baby's body beyond physical recognition. 9, the FDA and ABR employees called aborted babies amazing. Email after email reveals the inhumanity FDA researchers and ABR employees have become accustomed to, casually referring to the organs of dead children as amazing and beautiful, as if they were admiring jewels. 10, as if the research wasn't enough. Email traffic uncovered that FDA employees would be joining ABR associates at a, quote, humanized mice workshop in Zurich later that year. She concludes, if you've managed to read to the bottom of this list, you're no longer wondering why the federal government covered up these documents for so long. But you may be wondering why this story isn't a national headline, and why journalists, many of whom claim to be uncovering humanitarian abuses, still choose to ignore it. The land is polluted. We are no different from the savages of ancient Israel. We're no different. Joe Allen writes, the comparison of abortion to child sacrifice is a common polemic, largely because there's no satisfactory answer for why the two are fundamentally different. In many historical ritual murders across the globe, the purpose wasn't purely malicious. Aztecs, Mayans, Incas, Canaanites, Polynesians, the ancient Chinese, various African tribes, and probably the Celts were all willing to make a trade-off. Kill innocent people for the perceived benefit to the community. Planned Parenthood, they have had their slimy fingers in this trash for years. Years they've had it. Margaret Sanger, you know the one, the founder who said black people are an inferior race. And they have had their filthy, slimy fingers all in this trash for years. There are some, thank God, that are fighting now. And Myra Rodriguez, I read her story. She worked for Planned Parenthood in Arizona. She worked for them for 16 years. She got promoted all the way to being a director, and she couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't take it, so she left, and then she got a hold of the Christian Post. That was the article I saw. And she said in her report how Planned Parenthood used deception to drum up business. So you may think, well, how do they do that? Well, it's Arizona. Arizona's southern border, right? And so the Planned Parenthood in Arizona, they would get these illegal migrants that would come across the border, right? And maybe, for whatever reason, they were sold, sex slaves, right? Raped by cartels, whatever it may be. But they come into Planned Parenthood and they were pregnant. And guess what Planned Parenthood would tell them? Oh, if you have a baby in this country and you're illegal and you have a baby, they'll deport you. So you have to get an abortion. And then they take the body parts and then they sell them all. She said, I noticed all the atrocities. I noticed the irregularities. I noticed the malpractice. I noticed all the stuff the abortionists at Planned Parenthood hide from people. And I complained about it. That got me fired. And it got me set up. I was falsely accused of having narcotics in my office while I was out of my office. So they set her up to get rid of her. And then in 2019, thank God, she went ahead and sued wrongful termination under the Whistleblower Protection Act, and she won. And then she concluded in her article, she said this, Rodriguez stated, quote, it takes 15 to 26 minutes for an abortion. They suffocate them. And they also inject a saline solution into their heart until their heart stops for 24 hours before they pull them out piece by piece. So it is a death penalty to the unborn. Don't ever let anyone lie to you and tell you that this is about women's health. It is about money. It's all about money. It's about killing children for money. Planned Parenthood, I wonder what else they're up to. Let me share it with you. Parents in Tacoma, Washington, furious. They find out that a teacher distributed a flyer, Planned Parenthood flyer, to 8th graders, outlining their rights to having an abortion without parental consent. According to the Post-Millennial, students at Stewart Middle School received a handout during science class. It points out that they can get an abortion at any age and do not need to get permission from a parent or guardian. Additional items insisted or listed on the handout include receiving birth control, condoms, HIV, and STD testing. Eric Hogan, Assistant Director of Secondary Education at Tacoma Public Schools, responded to the irate parents by reassuring them that the flyer was, quote, not part of our curriculum and should not have been sent home with students. You think? Yeah, we kind of accidentally let that one slip. Hogan said Planned Parenthood had previously taught at the school and provided the flyer which was handed out to students. So Planned Parenthood can go into schools and hand out flyers, but you try doing that with your Bible. What else do you think was on the flyers? If you're a child, you can be 11 years old and have sex with someone 2 years older or less. 11-year-old. You can be 12 to 13 years old and have sex with someone who is 3 years older or less. Or you can be 14 or 15 years old and have sex with someone who is 4 years older or less. So you can be a 14-year-old in school and have sex with an adult. Planned Parenthood. They do such great work. Evil. So evil. There are some who are fighting back. You know all about Texas, right? Texas is fighting back. South Carolina, trying to pass the South Carolina Fetal Heartbeat and Protection from Abortion Act, right? The bill requires doctors to perform ultrasounds to check for a heartbeat in the fetus. If one is detected, the abortion can only be performed if the pregnancy was caused by rape or incest, or the mother's life is in danger. Kentucky, pro-life bill is headed to the governor's desk. I don't know what the situation on that is anymore. According to CBN News, Senate Bill number 9, also known as the Born Alive Bill, requires that an infant who survives an attempted abortion must be given appropriate medical care. So the child has survived it. It must be given care. Failure to provide treatment can result in revocation of the medical provider's credentials and criminal charges. And of course, who do you think is fighting against that bill? Planned Parenthood. Because you're chopping into their money. You're chopping into their money. We got to kill babies. What, you want to keep this thing alive? Dr. Brittany Myers, who represented Planned Parenthood in Kentucky, called a baby who survived an abortion. It's alive. She called the baby a non-viable fetus. The wickedness, the ungodliness of these people. In closing, America is broken. I mean, it is broken. Stop with the Lord, come and just give us a revival stuff. Really? And this is going to continue. And God just goes ahead, you got it? You got to clean the land before he comes and does anything. Abortion not only changes a nation's culture, because that's what the feminists wanted. They wanted this back in the 70s. This is exactly what they wanted. Change the culture. Change the culture and take an America that at one time was a nation under God, at one time was a nation that respected God. Take that nation and make it godless. Make it godless. And it's done it. And it takes abortion, reaches into the soul of a nation and just pulls it out. But they mingled with the nations and learned their practices. We learned this. And we didn't learn this from the Bible. We learned this from the pagans. And served their idols, which became a snare to them. They even sacrificed their sons and their daughters to the demons and shed innocent blood. The blood of their sons and their daughters whom they sacrificed to the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with the blood. We have slaughtered, with the government's consent, over 50 million babies. So, I've shared this fear of mine with you. Do you and do we still believe that the God of today is the same God of the Bible? That he cannot change? Because if you believe that he's the same God, then we are in a tremendous amount of trouble. Because his word is an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth, and a life for a life. He is a God of just weights and measures. Do you still believe that? Because if you do, and I do, then we are in trouble. We have slaughtered over 50 million lives. Innocent lives. And if he's the same God, then he gets them all back. So, I don't know how, but I watch and I observe, and I watch this frantic position towards COVID. And by all means, it is real. The virus is real. We all know it's real, but we get bent out of shape. About 700,000. We've slaughtered over 50 million. And if he's a God of just weights and measures, I'm wondering what the next virus looks like. If he gets them all back. Because he can't turn a blind eye to this, can he? Then he's not God. He's not God. Allow me to close the words of Nathaniel Blake. He's a PhD in political theory. Listen. Our nation is haunted by what abortion does to the living. Trying to solve our problems by killing developing human beings makes us worse, individually and socially. If elective abortion seems necessary, it is because our sexual appetites exceed our willingness to care for the children who are the natural result of sex. Elective abortion is a violent form of birth control, which is used either instead of or as a backdrop to the proliferating array of modern contraceptives. Abortion thus damages the fundamental relationships of our humanity, shattering the primeval union of mother, father, and child. Instead of the family solidarity that is foundational to human society, the begetting and bearing of new human life becomes a battleground of competing interests. Abortion, even as a possibility, separates mothers and fathers from their children and each other. A regime of abortion on demand affirms a view of human sexuality as essentially selfless, and of relations between men, women, and children as fundamentally contentious. It replaces love and responsibility with selfishness and violence. America's abortion culture sets men and women against each other. Even the justification of abortion as a private matter of female freedom implicitly relieves men of their responsibilities. Why should a woman's choice be a man's problem? He signed up for a good time, not diapers and a minivan. Similarly, women's workplace equality often advances on the tacit assumption that female fertility would be suppressed, to require little or no accommodation from employers. Children are considered to be a lifestyle choice, and those are not an employer's responsibility. In each case, abortion provides a fail-safe that allows men to get what they want from women with a minimum of commitment and responsibility. The effects of abortion pervade our culture, from dating and marriage to business and education. Instead of building a better culture that encourages us to be more virtuous, abortion enables us to be more vicious and exploitative of each other. It should not surprise us, therefore, that after decades of abortion on demand, we live in a nation with cratering marriage and birth rates and an epidemic of deadly loneliness. Abortion is not solely responsible for this, but the ghosts in the empty cradles undoubtedly haunt us. Many want to look away, but if we are to understand the ills of our nation, then we must face them. There is a further, more dreadful possibility, which is that the choice is between looking now or looking later. If the dead rise again for a judgment in which all secrets are revealed, then the aborted children of this nation will be waiting for us to face them. And when we look at them, and when they look at us, what excuse could we offer? End quote. Over 50 million. They're there. They are in glory right now. And we will meet them someday. And then the question is, what will we say? What did we do? What do we say when they look at us and they say, we never had a chance? Father, we come before you, and again, we beg for forgiveness. Lord, truth be told, we know, those of us that are sitting here, those that are listening to this, we know an election does not change this. This doesn't go away. In fact, it probably gets worse. And you are a God that does not change. And we know that our land is polluted with blood, innocent blood. And how many of us, for so many years, we've just turned a blind eye to it. We've got our jobs, we've got our money, We got our homes, we got our cars, we got our bank accounts, we have our retirement, and we're set. And so, hey, whatever happens in somebody else's life, well, so what? But it does matter. How many lives have you created that we destroyed? And those of us who knew better, we did nothing. Lord, I ask that you forgive us. Lord, I ask you forgive our leaders. I don't know what good that does. But Lord, all that we can do that have heard this information is we can, in Yeshua's name, say we will be silent no more. And we will tell others. We will tell others of the horrors of what is going on in this country. How ungodly this is, how demonic it is, how you hate it. We cannot stand by anymore and just say nothing. And maybe, Lord, maybe we can change one woman's opinion. Maybe just one. Maybe we can save one life. Maybe that little life that is saved, maybe that little life accepts your salvation. Maybe that little life goes to seminary and becomes a pastor somewhere or a missionary somewhere. Maybe that little life winds up being the wife of a pastor or somebody who knows, I don't know, or a doctor and working on a cure for cancer and so on. Maybe it's just one life. But we will not be silent anymore. Lord, if you are to pour out your wrath, and we're the generation that feels it, then all I can ask is that show us mercy in the midst of your wrath. And we will declare your name. Thank you, Lord, for hearing us. Thank you for forgiving us.